أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله، صلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا إلى يوم الدين، وبعد. We stopped with ayah number 21. قال الله عز وجل: وكذلك أعثرنا عليهم ليعلموا أن وعد الله حق وأن الساعة لا ريب فيها إذ يتنازعون بينهم أمرهم إذ قالوا بنوا عليهم بنيانا ربهم أعلم بهم قال الذين غلبوا على أمرهم لنتخذن عليهم مسجدا. Before we finish this ayah, we spoke about the result of their story, where they said, إنهم إن يظهروا عليكم يرجموكم أو يعيدوكم في ملتهم ولن تفلحوا إذن أبدا. Few things that we want to mention here in this ayat that we want to learn from. Number one, قوله تعالى وليتلطف. Kindness or careful in da'wah is very important. Okay? When you're giving da'wah to people, it is very important to have some kind of mercy and lutf and ease. Here, facing the reality of the problem is the best way to deal with the solution. To find a correct solution to a problem, you have to face the problem directly. You have to be realistic. Over-relying upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala without taking the means and trying to fool yourself that things will be okay just because whatever reason there is, that doesn't work in the deen of Allah. What he told him, he said, إِنَّهُمْ إِن يَظْهَرُوا عَلَيْكُمْ, for if they come to know about you, يَرْجُمُوكُمْ, they will stone you. Yani this is the reality here. So if you want, you cannot just say, Allah saved us in the cave, Allah made us sleep 300 years, Allah protected us from death, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected us from our enemy, and therefore we will continue to be protected. He said, no, you have to do your part. And this surah, I told you, it keeps pushing us to do that. Do what you can, take all the means, and rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the over-reliance, just because, like people nowadays, they over-rely upon just the concept of being Muslim. Yani we will be saved just because we are Muslim. Who told you that? The ones who are most tested are the believers. كما قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم. So he was very frank with them. إنهم إن يظهروا عليكم يرجموكم, they will stone you. أو يعيدوكم في ملتهم, or they return you to their religion, and this is worse than the first. The dua of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, اللهم لا تجعل الدنيا أكبر همنا ولا مبلغ علمنا. حتى قال صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا. Any fitna that you go through, if it's not in your religion, then it's not a fitna. It is something you could handle. If the fitna is in the religion, the biggest this is the most severe fitna that you could face in your life. Allah, we want to live Muslims and die Muslims. That's why we say in the dua, oh Allah, do not make the fitna in our deen. Because the fitna of dunya will at the end pass, regardless, whether it is sickness, death, loss of money, loss of beloved ones, whether it's whatever the case might be, it will pass. But the fitna of the deen doesn't pass. Because not only in this dunya, but also in akhirah. You could imagine a person living all his life upon the deen and then dying other than being a Muslim. He lost both dunya and akhirah. So Rasulullah used to say, Allahumma la taj'al musibatana fi dinina. Kullu musabin ghayru ad-din sahl. Every musibah that is away from your religion, wallahi, it's easy. You don't want to be tested in the religion because you might not be able to handle it. We think we're strong. We think we could do it. We think we have, I am abid. I am hafiz. I am a scholar. I am, okay. All of this doesn't protect you from doing what? One of the years, you'll be surprised. A young man, his case was presented to us here in Sacramento, in Canada. His father sent him to Islamic school to memorize Quran, to become a hafiz. And he went for 2 years. And he returned back, mashallah. He knows Quran like you know your name. Perfect. But this person never, whatsoever, never was attached to the deen of Allah. And he was leading salah for 7 years. And he was atheist. I don't know how. Yeah, I know. The case was presented like that. So when they asked, when he was confronted with it, he said, it is like every other business. I memorized the Quran. They call me for Taraweeh. That's all I lead. Taraweeh is about $10,000. His voice was very good too, mashallah. So he was like, it is like going to work from 7 to 5 or 8. I just go and I lead. And I finish. Well, subhanAllah, if you hear his recitation and his memorization, unbelievable. That's the fitna in the deen. He's a hafiz. Yeah, we know. He has the Quran in his heart. Yes, we know. But it didn't change the heart. And people live their life at a level if you haven't witnessed, I'm telling you from experience, we have witnessed that with our own eyes. We have witnessed people who used to come to the masjid, mashallah, they grow their beard, they have a ibama and turban, and I saw the same person, not here, not in Davis for sure, okay? Working at a retail store selling female products, clothing and perfume and other, flirting with every woman who comes into the store. Same brother who used to be the first one in the masjid, in the first row, mashallah, if you see him, you think he's Abu Bakr Siddiq who came from Abu Bakr's time to here. See, when you see a picture like that, it doesn't mean, oh, I shouldn't become religious then because I might change. No. But just know that if Allah keeps you guided upon the straight path, that's a ni'mah of Allah. If Allah doesn't test you in the religion, that's a ni'mah of Allah. Do you know how he was tested? Very simple test. He was just taking for a few days. Questioned for a few days by the authorities. That's it. He came out completely a different person. So we shouldn't expose ourselves to the fitan. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us protected from them. That's why he said, أَوْ يُعِيدُكُمْ فِي مِلَّتِهِمْ وَلَن تُفْلِحُوا إِذًا أَبَدًا. He said, if they return you back to their religion, then you shall never be successful again. Because يَرْجُمُوكُمْ means to stone you. If they stone you, what's going to happen? You die, then you go to Jannah. قَالُوا لَا طَيْرٍ. The people of Musa, the magicians, when Fir'aun said, I'm going to cut your hands and your feet, what did they say? قَالُوا لَا طَيْرٍ. Do whatever you want. All it takes is you're going to kill us, we go to Jannah. What's the big deal? So يَرْجُمُوكُمْ, to stone you is not a problem. He didn't say that. He commented on the second one. He said, if you return to their religion, you lost. Khalas, you lost. Question. Okay? Which one is easier to do? Live for Allah or to die for Allah? Yalla, Bismillah. Then what's the answer, Mr. Which is easier to do? Don't worry about your intention right now, please. Please. No smart question after question. Just keep the question simple. Which one is easier? Okay. Which one is harder to? How am I going to bring the question to you? Huh? Live, die, live. That's not an answer. We're not going to get anywhere. Huh?
And wanted to jihad and he died. It took him only 1 day and he died and he only secured Jannah.
So which is easier? I'm talking about which is easier to achieve as a person. To die? You have a point. MashaAllah, you do have a point. That's why I need you to come closer now, over here. Young guys who's sitting next to a wall at age 15 will like, my back hurts. 15 years old, your back hurts. لا حول ولا قوة. الله المستعان. Allah المستعان. These kids now, we couldn't sit in the masjid when we saw adults coming in. Allah المستعان. It is easier to die for Allah than living for Allah. Because dying for Allah, all it takes is a second or two or khalas, death. But to live your life for Allah is very hard. So living for Allah is harder. Why? Because you live longer. You have to do so much. You're going to go through a lot. Things are going to change. So here he's telling them, إِن يَرْجُمُوكُمْ, if they stone you, that's not a problem. وَإِن يُعِيدُوكُمْ فِي مِلَّتِهِمْ, and if they return you, أو يعيدوكم, if they return you to their religion, فَلَن تُفْلِحُوا إِذًا أَبَدًا, you will never be successful again. قال وكذلك أعثرنا عليهم ليعلموا أن وعد الله حق. Look at this ayah. Wallahi, this ayah is so beautiful. Allah said, and we might, that they might know, or we made their case known. Okay, we caused the people to find them. The reason the people found them, that they might know that the promise of Allah is true. This is the most important thing you and I should live for. Everything that happens for this reason. لِيَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. We live, we practice Islam, we give sadaqah, we do siyam, we do everything, so we know that the promise of Allah is true. We're going to know that very soon. You don't do any, all this dunya is made for this purpose. لِيَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. That you may know that the promise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is true. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took the soul of Uzair for 100 years. لِيَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ اللَّهَ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ. So he should. قال أعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير. After 100 years, he said, I know that Allah is capable of doing everything. Ibrahim alayhi salam, with all his journey in life, and then Allah commanded him to do what? To take birds, to cut them into pieces, to distribute them among on mountains, and then all of this for what? وَعَلَمْ أَنَّ اللَّهَ عَزِيزٌ حَكِيمٌ. Know that لِيَعْلَمُوا. If you reach that point that you know that the promise of Allah is true, your life will change. You know that if you go through hardship, the promise of Allah that ease is gonna come, so you're relaxed. You know, even if ease doesn't come, there is a great reward, so you're relaxed. When you go through happiness that you know and you follow and you thank Allah, you know that the reward is Jannah for being thankful, so you're relaxed. لِيَعْلَمُوا, so you know that the promise of Allah is true. It could have been easy that these 7, 8 men, what happened to them? They went to a cave, 300 years, they died, khalas, the story is over. No, Allah said, وَكَذَلِكَ أَعْثَرْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ. We made them find them. Why? Why did the people, when he went, most likely when he went to the market with the money that he had, okay, Some scholars said he asked for food that it was not known at that time. Some other people said the way he was looking. To be honest, from the tafsir, what is more apparent is that Allah mentioned something specific. قال فابعثوا أحدكم بإيش؟ بورقكم. The reason Allah mentioned the silver coins is to give an impression that he took that silver coin, he went to the market, he said, "Here is it, give me some food." He gave them the silver coin. He looked at him and said, where you got this from? So he figured out that he's not from. And the people who lived at that time knew of their story, but no one ever found them. So that's why Allah made them founded. So they could know that the promise of Allah is true. لِيَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ. قال لِيَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ وَأَنَّ السَّاعَةَ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا. And they may know that the last hour, as-sa'a, which is the day of judgment, okay, the last hour and the day of judgment, is haqq, is true. One of the most important reasons that a person would be encouraged or discouraged to do an action is that if they believe in these two, وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ, and they believe in the last hour. Believing in the last hour would encourage you to do every good possible action and to avoid every sin that is possible. Why? Because you know that there's a day where there's a question, as-sa'a. There's an hour that is going to come where you'll be standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you'll be questioned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if this takes years to get to it. It doesn't matter. At the end, the result is, promise of Allah is true, the last hour will take place. And the last hour does not mean Yawm al-Qiyamah, because this is the major day of judgment. But you and I, if we return to Allah, if we die, this is our sa'a. Our sa'a starts, our hour starts by our death. So he said, وَكَذَلِكَ أَعْثَرْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ لِيَعْلَمُوا أَنَّ وَعْدَ اللَّهِ حَقٌّ وَأَنَّ السَّاعَةَ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهَا إِذْ يَتَنَازَعُونَ بَيْنَهُمْ أَمْرَهُمْ. That they might know that the promise of Allah is true, that they have no doubt about the last hour. And remember when those people disputed among themselves about their case. Here, something very interesting. We as human beings, sometimes we don't learn from the lesson. We get so distracted by less important matters and we start disputing about it. What's the lesson behind these people of the cave? What? Anybody remember what we said? I said it to you guys. Huh? Al-Firdaus. Hardworking. To know the guidance of Allah. How they left dunya behind. I'm talking about them, the young 7 men. Okay? How they left dunya behind. How they gave up on life for Allah. Correct? All of this. So Allah said, instead of people taking a lesson from them, benefiting, they start disputing. يَتَنَازَعُونَ بَيْنَهُمْ أَمْرَهُمْ قَالُوا بْنُوا عَلَيْهِمْ بُنْيَانًا. Some people said, let's build a nice house. But this is not the point of the story. Allah didn't make them sleep for 300 years that we here come at the end and say, what should we build? A masjid that people would visit them? Or should we build a nice house that people would remember them? Should we make a nice museum that people will go and visit them? Or Allah said, but this is not the point. وَكَذَلِكَ أَعْثَرْنَا عَلَيْهِمْ. Not for that. We didn't make you guys find them. So you could dispute. إِذْ يَتَنَازَعُونَ بَيْنَهُمْ أَمْرَهُمْ قَالُوا ابْنُوا عَلَيْهِمْ بُنْيَانًا. Some of them said, build a bunyan, a house. Okay? Yani build a house on the cave and leave them in there. فقال الذين فقالوا ابن عليهم بنيانا ربهم أعلم بهم. Allah knows about their situation. قال الذين غلبوا على أمرهم. Those whom their point, or who won their point, said, we verily should build a place of worship over them. Who are these people that always win a dispute? Political people, people in power. So here, it doesn't mean it's allowed to build a grave in a masjid or a masjid on a grave. Because some people took from this ayah that it's permissible to build graves of the salihin and to build a masjid and go and visit them. And we have those in our countries a lot. Every country has. The most surprising one is the grave of Al-Hussein, because that you'll find it in Egypt, you'll find it in Karbala, you'll find it in Damascus, you'll find it in different places. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, لعن الله اليهود والنصارى اتخذوا قبور أنبيائهم وصالحيهم مساجد. He said, may Allah curse the Jews and the Christians who took the graves of their prophets and righteous people as places of worship. And Rasulullah said, I wish that I would die without people taking my grave as a place of worship. Why? Because we are not attached to the figures. We're not attached to the individuals. We're attached to the concept, to the aqidah. Here in this story of the people of the cave, what was the problem is that they left the whole story, the entire story, and they focused on what? Those 7. But the story is not about these 7. The story is more than that. The story is, if you are guided, Allah will do things for you like He did for them. So if I ask you ever, okay, this is a homework, and I will give you till you graduate from Davis. Okay? And even after graduation, and I will give you $1,000 per name if you're able to bring me names of those 7 men. Okay? Yalla, you have searched whatever years you want to go. Every Ramadan, if you come one Ramadan and say, here are the 7 names, that's $7,000. You could say whatever you want. I should know, but that's a good one. The point here is what? Is not their names. Is not how old they were. Is not which country they're from. It is not how tall or short, how rich or poor. That's not the point at all. We don't have any form of narration, even Israeliyat, that talks about their names. Why? Insignificant. The story is, what do we benefit from them? So when these people found them, تنازعوا بينهم أمرهم. This, by the way, among us, we do the same thing. Okay? We end up doing the same thing. We leave the benefit and we're holding on to the argument. In every story, to a point that you would hear some people actually going investigating so deep into a story that no point of going deep into it. The story of Adam with all the details in the Quran. Does it matter to know which tree did he eat from? I have somebody who said cucumber. I don't know why. Whatever fruit you don't like, you're going to pick on. Why didn't Allah just clear out that from in the Quran? خلاص. فَلَمَّا ذَاقَ الشَّجَرَةِ. The tree. Why did Allah say the tree? Why didn't Allah solve the problem and tell us what? The tree is this and that. Because there is no, even if Allah tells you it's apple tree, what are you going to do? So it's haram. You know what we're going to do? We're not gonna say halal or haram. You're gonna have some Muslims, even Muslims who are very smart, mashallah, because we have those Muslims. I have them after every Jum'ah, maybe in every masjid, not just Davis, no, everywhere. They're gonna come and say, which apple? Red apple, or was it yellow? Oh man, hatta al-apple, we're gonna differ on it. We're not gonna agree. Does it matter? No, seriously, does it matter? No. This is what Bani Israel did with Musa alayhi salam. قال إن الله يأمركم أن تذبحوا بقرة. Slaughter a cow. Wallahi, if they win and they got a cow and they slaughtered, the story was over وخلاص, done. قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما هي. What's the first thing that he said? قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا فارض ولا بكر عوان بين ذلك. Not too old, not too young, not. He just said, خلاص, get any cow slaughter. They said, قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما لونها. What color? What color is a cow? Here you go, even the kids, they're like brown and yellow, and we're not going to stop. قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة صفراء فاقع لونها. صفراء, that is bright yellow. فاقع لونها, the only way that you could see that brightness of yellow if it's stuck in green. So now they went to every farm to investigate. طيب, they found so many yellow cows. The result was what? They killed someone. The result was they took it by force. The result was they were tortured and punished for not listening to Allah. If day one they took a cow and they slaughtered, the story was done. Khalas. That's why we are commanded not to dispute. Not only not to dispute, even argument that leads to no point. قال صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وسلم أنا زعيم بيت بربض الجنة. I guarantee you a house in Jannah, in the highest level of Jannah. لمن ترك المراء ولو كان محقا. If you leave argument, even if you're right. Which argument? Huh? Any in general. But the main ones here is the ones that has no point. There is no point. There is no discussion. Here, في عندنا مثل في مصر بيقول لك لاقيني ولا تغديني. Nobody's gonna get that. And I'm not gonna translate it. Huh? فقال لاتخذن عليهم مسجدا. They said that we should take a masjid. طبعا بناء المساجد على القبور وبناء القبور على المساجد هذه المسألة فيها كلام طويل. There is a lot to say about this, building a masjid over a grave. And the fuqaha discussed which one should be removed. If you build a masjid on a grave, you should remove the masjid. If you build a grave in the masjid, you should remove the grave. So which one came first, you leave. Okay? And طبعا people, they go and they worship, and this is all form of shirk that we're not going to even discuss. The masjid of the Prophet ﷺ is a little different because of why was the masjid, the grave was brought into the masjid, not part of the masjid. That's a long story. The point of my story here is not to discuss the aqidah or the fiqh issue in this case right now, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, يعني لا تتخذوا ايش مسجدي لا تتخذوا قبري مسجدا يعبد. Do not take my grave as a place of worship. Okay? Those people in power, قالوا لنتخذن عليهم مسجدا. The people in power said, they won because people in power always win. So they said, we will build a masjid. Now, سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم. They say they were three, and the dog being the fourth among them. سيقولون. The scene here is very beautiful. Anyone know what a scene is for? Huh? Arabic class. It makes a verb for sure, affirms a verb. So if it comes before a verb, what does it do? It affirms it. Yes. سيقول السفهاء. They will say for sure. Allah said, سيقولون. They will say 3 or 4. Again, Allah is saying what? They won't stop disputing. They would even discuss how many they were. People will say, سيقولون ثلاثة. Does it matter? No. I always tell people this, when you read the Quran, pay attention to these little details. Allah said, سيقولون ثلاثة. سيتكلمون. People are going to talk anyway. Okay? People are going to speak regardless. All right? خلاص? You come to the masjid, the lights are on. Someone is going to say, what? Yani, spending a lot on electricity and there's so much light. We don't need all this light. Okay, a nice brother is going to go to the back and do what? Turn off some. Few minutes later, you're going to have someone else walking in. Why are you guys sitting in the dark? سيقولون. Allah said, سيقولون ثلاثة. There is no point of discussion, but they will say. Isn't that the case with... The case is that people talk about things that their business and none of their business. They will talk. So don't be surprised that people are talking about your business. Don't be surprised when people get involved into your business. Why? سَيَقُولُونَ ثَلَاث. Allah didn't bring these people out, the people of the cave, for you to discuss their matter. So if you're surprised that why people are talking about you, okay, يَقُولُ ضَحِكْتَ. If you smile, they will say, why you smile so much without a reason? If you laugh, they will say, you're laughing, and this is a form of disrespect. If you sit serious, they'll say, what's wrong with you? You don't joke? The Prophet ﷺ abis. And if you're talking a lot, they'll say, oh, he doesn't stop talking, he's talkative. If you're quiet, oh, he's arrogant, he doesn't want to talk to us. You will never please people. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من أرضى الله بسخط الناس رضي الله عنه وأرضى عنه الناس ومن أسخط الله برضا الناس سخط الله عليه وأسخط عليه الناس. If you please Allah, even if you displease people. Okay? يعني صلاة, I'm going to give you example. صلاة. Now this is Davis, but alhamdulillah changed. Alhamdulillah. Now it's Davis for sure. One year we had a Imam, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless him, say Ameen. Not me. I'm making dua for someone else, wallahi, not me. Okay? So, first day of Taraweeh, okay? He read his way. Beginning of Al-Baqarah, خلاص? And the Shaykh was going a little slow. So we had some people who came and they said, can he please go a little faster? I said, go talk to him. They spoke the same language too. So they went to speak to him. The Shaykh came second day. But mashallah, he went turbo. We couldn't even catch him like ruku' and sujood. He actually, mashallah, his memorization was very good and he was just going very fast. The brothers couldn't take it. They ran to him. They told him, what's going on? It's too fast, slow down. So he slowed down again. So the brother got, wallahi, 3-4 days. The Shaykh was like, what am I going to do? Every speed, this is the problem. Every speed is like that. And he said, just make it wasata, in between. I am sure, still some people, I'm going to complain myself about something, but you're going to have a complaint anyway. But the point is, you try to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? You try to stop yourself, especially things that are not going to change. There are people, with all the love and respect, there are individuals who complain for the purpose of complaining, not for a benefit. So again, they do what? They complain just to complain. Wallahi, just to complain. If they don't find anything to complain about, they'll make something up. If you're dealing with such a person, you just have to understand this is a personality. But the advice of the Quran is not to do that. If there's a benefit, advice. Here, سيقولون ثلاثة رابعهم كلبهم ويقولون خمسة سادسهم كلبهم رجما بالغيب. Allah said, they're talking about 5, 3, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's the point? You just want to talk about anything? Yes, they just want to talk about anything. And Allah said, رجما بالغيب. This is all not true. This is رجما بالغيب. And then Allah will explain, and then Allah will teach us the lesson and the benefit. So, I would say to myself, and I always remind myself of this hadith, mind your own business. Mind your own business. If there is something that is not going to be of a benefit to you or to others, then there is no need to get involved in it so you do not embarrass yourself or others. That's very, very simple. If there is no point of a discussion that you see with someone who have no clue what they're talking about, or even if they have a point that is not You already explained a million times. خلاص, move on. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم أنا زعيم بيت بربض في الجنة. I will guarantee you a house in Jannah. This is Rasulullah guaranteeing you a house in Jannah. If you leave argument or debate, dispute for the sake of Allah. You know, the best way to say it is what? Sometimes you just say, yes, you're right. Jazakallah khair wa sallallahu ala Muhammad alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum. No, not that you're right. I'm